Hello, everyone, and welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real metaphysical and occult knowledge so you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, we're going to be continuing our Mage Minded series for our live topic. If you are in the community and you are joining us live, feel free to drop your questions on the topic in the chat below. I'll either try to get to them while I'm talking or in the after chat when we can go into a deep dive on your questions after the topic. If you're watching this on Rumble or on YouTube and you'd like to join us live, join us at the workingdragonmystic.com community. You can find it in the links below. Now, let's get into this. I know this is probably not some people's favorite topic, and some of you might even be rolling your eyes wondering why the flip we're talking about this, because it sounds silly. Because this day and age, there's this concept of just do what you want. Magic's magic. Do what you want. And to some extent, that is true. However, there is actually still a discipline to any magical practice, even if we try to deny it. So understanding that discipline is really going to help your practice. And the better you understand it, the more you apply it, the more it'll help your practice. Okay. In fact, you could actually define self-discipline as the art of self-mastery, right? And here at Working Dragon Mystic, we're all about self-mastery and self-empowerment. So in a lot of ways, discipline is a key component to those two concepts if you are truly interested in boosting yourself to that next level as a practitioner, regardless of your path in all. Okay. Now, let's get clear here before we go forward, because a lot of people, when you say the word discipline, they think Marines. They think the Royal Guard with the big fuzzy hats in England who stand there, they don't move, they don't smile, they don't blink, you fart on them, they're not supposed to react. They think of this level of discipline, right? Now, it's not to say that level of discipline doesn't have its purpose, but let's also be honest that that level of discipline or that type of discipline or that specific style really isn't going to help very many magicians. Okay? That is true. In fact, as far as a mage, instead of British Guard fuzzy hat, I would actually lean more to the Marines, and I don't like to eat crayons, so I probably wouldn't lean that direction. They probably wouldn't have me, to be honest with you, but that's aside the point. When we say discipline, we need to actually look at how we want to discipline our lives, right? So one of the first things that I was taught by one of my mentors is it takes discipline to control your spirit, mind, and body and bring them in line with the standards by which you have chosen to live by. Okay? So regardless of how you're choosing to live, if you are living the life that you're choosing to live and you are trying to improve yourself, better yourself, and you are trying to walk a path, that will take discipline. You can't walk that path without discipline or you'll never get anywhere. Okay. And if you listen at her words there, spirit, mind, and body, right? Those are core concepts to a mage. Okay. So we need to remember that. And again, I'm not talking crazy levels of extreme, unblinking, standing in the cold discipline. I don't think that those are going to help your general mages. There are mages that will have certain practices that might help in, but those are the rare occasions. We want to talk on the broader spectrum here today, okay? In fact, there's a quote by Dave Campbell that was, discipline is remembering what you want, right? I highly, highly agree with this quote, and this is another reason I think it is so important to magic. When we are walking a path, right? I don't care what path it is. Yes, there's 1,000 million paths up the mountain. There's infinite paths up the mountain, not just one path, right? But to get up the mountain, you still have the discipline. You have to have the discipline to walk it. So many people you can watch. We all know them. I guarantee it. They will start to do something. They'll do great for a day, 2 days, maybe a week, maybe a month. But then they're like, screw this and stop. And then a month, 2 months later, they complain about the same thing that never changed because they didn't continue to walk whatever path it was they were choosing, right? That's just the simple key concept there. And it sucks, but it is a key concept that a lot of us do need to remember. In fact, I would say when you are looking at your path and your life, your mundane life and your magical life, ask yourself what it is you want to achieve. Okay. Ask yourself that question. I actually ask myself that question regularly, even weekly, and I write it down. What kind of person do you really want to be? Right? Literally ask your question. This is a question I have asked so many people in the last year, and I don't think anyone, well, no, one person gave me an answer. Only one. That is crazy to me. People, at least by the gods, figure out what you want to do and what you want to be. If you don't know your job, you don't know your career, at least be able to tell me the type of person you want to be. Right? That's basic. I mean, how you even live in life if you don't know the standard by which you wish to hold yourself? Right? That's just that feels cray cray to me, especially for practitioners, right? So ask yourself that question: what kind of person do you really want to be? And write it down. If you're having trouble, put it in an archetype. Think of an archetype. Think of characters. I'm not going to lie. Boba Fett and Crocodile Dundee were two characters as a kid that I would have quickly and easily put into those archetypes for me. Later on in life, I'm a very highly logical person. I did add Grand Admiral Thrawn. Well, oh, we're missing one. One from my childhood. Can't forget this one. A lot of people will know it. I'm a gambler at heart. Doc Holliday. Sorry. But those are archetypes or heroes that you could take the traits that you want to emulate and put those into, why do you, and then start meditating on the why, figure that out. Figure out what kind of person you want to be. And then ask yourself these questions and meditate on them. What do you need to do, or what do you need to try to achieve to reach those objectives? Okay. Now you're going to probably wonder right now, Drake, what the hell does that have to do with discipline? Glad you asked, because here's the thing. Once you know those answers, you now know exactly what you need to work on to reach that goal. That means in order to make those changes in your life, in order to reach those goals, you're going to have to start training yourself. You're going to have to start training your mind. You're going to have to start training your body. You're going to have to start training your spirit and your emotions. This ain't something that happens overnight. This ain't something that happens in a year. This ain't something that happens in 2 years. This is actually a form of training that is every day, constantly working on it, constantly shaping yourself, constantly working to be better. And before you ask, well, what if I try these archetypes and something changes in mine? That's okay too. Having a direction now to what you want in life, that's understandable. That is completely understandable. And I assure you, every one of us, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, our life is going to change directions. It absolutely is going to change directions. And that's perfectly fine, because if you develop the discipline to adjust to those changes and to focus yourself and to develop and train again onto those goals, you can reach them, right? And this applies in magic. Regardless of what we are doing, we have to discipline our mind to be able to focus on what it is we're doing. It's not good enough to grab a few herbs, to grab a candle of the right color, to burn the herbs and light the candle and say some fancy words. It's not enough. The power is not in the objects. Okay. An actual mage who understands his magic doesn't need any of the objects. There's no actual power in the objects. All the objects do is help us focus. Every bit of the power resides in the mage and their ability to focus and direct that etherical pattern and keep that focus through the entirety of the working, and the discipline to release it. That last one is probably one of the harder ones, because emotional discipline is something that has been completely chucked out of the door since like the 2000s. We've just been, just feel what you feel and just let it out. And that's not necessarily a bad thing within a certain extent. But you also have to be on the understanding that you do have to be able to control your emotions. You do have, and that doesn't mean feel nothing. No, 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 no. I never said that. You need to be able to feel the emotions, to generate the ether, to put the power to it, to be able to direct it and push it. But you also have to have the discipline to truly, truly let it go. Because if you can't let it go, it can't go out into the world and manifest whatever it is you're trying to manifest. Also, If you're angry or depressed or sad or anything like that, and you can't let it go, it's just going to eat you up inside too, take you down with the ship, as it were. Again, we're seeing just these multiple levels of discipline and how they can affect our lives, right? You're honestly, I think I've used this analogy in the past, but think of discipline as a gardener. Seriously, straight up. And your goals in life is that freaking garden, right? And everything that you want to manifest in your life is the actual crops, right? Okay. Now, the crops that are growing, they're abundant. There ain't no weeds, there ain't no bugs, anything like that. You can just kind of let those go. They're doing what they're doing. But over here, these things you're trying to manifest, they might have some bugs on them. They might have weeds strangling them out and choking them. You got to tend that crop every freaking day. Give it special attention to make sure it grows, because if you don't, it will die. It's dead. Now you can't, there's no cabbages, there's no potatoes, there's no strawberries, there's no peach tree, there's no mango tree, whatever it is, it's dead. You can't have it now, right? It's not a video game. You can't go back to the save file and try again. No, it's dead until next year, when you actually have to replant, start over, and try it again without messing up, because you didn't have the discipline to get up and tend to your garden, right? That's the thing. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter if you're sore. Doesn't matter if you got a cold. You got to get up and tend the garden. And if you absolutely positively can't get up and tend the garden because you're too freaking sick, my papa never found that day, by the way. The doctor said he did a lot of times, and we found him unconscious on the front porch after tending the garden a few times. But in his opinion, he never found that day. I disagree with him, but that's papa. However, if you're at that point where I say papa should not have gone to the garden, regardless of what he said, phone a friend, have them tend your garden while you rest. It's still your responsibility to make sure it gets done. Even if you can't drag yourself out there to do it, it's your job to make sure it gets done. That's just the slice of the thing there. And our life is that garden. And the things we spend our time meditating on, focusing on, and training, like me right now, okay? I'm working on getting healthier. I'm working on building some strength. I'm working on losing weight. Those are disciplines that I'm working on. I'm developing. I'm not doing 100%. I'd be lying if I said I was. I'm still working. I'm still developing, but I'm very happy with my progress all the same. I'm feeling better every day. Every day making myself work out gets easier. Every day making myself eat better gets easier. Every day dealing with certain food addiction habits and avoiding them gets a little easier. But it's every one of those, everything in that list absolutely falls under discipline. Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, discipline actually comes in when it comes to ritual work, when it comes to magic. Having the discipline to actually do the practice, to follow a path working. And it may sound weird. It's like, how hard is it to follow path working? I'll be honest. In the people I talk to, apparently it's pretty hard, because I have spoken with, in the last 5 months, at least 100 people. And maybe two of them, just two of them, actually were working on path workings and were following them to the letter. Every other one was just throwing, picking and choosing. They were skipping around. They weren't even doing the path working in order. They were actually doing things in the path working they were specifically told not to, jump ahead, jump around. And they could not figure out why their life was going to shit, why things weren't work. They didn't even have the discipline to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They didn't even have that discipline. And that's kind of crazy, right? If you're going to do magic, there is a layer of discipline in there. There really is. And you need to cultivate it. It's for you. It's for your own sake, right? It's not going to help me. Your discipline in your life doesn't help me. My discipline will, right? Absolutely helps me, not you. That being said, a friend of mine, him and I was talking about this a few weeks ago, actually. And he said one of the things that a lot of people miss and a lot of people forget, and I admit when he told me this, I missed it too, right? I've never actually meditated and thought on this specific thing before. Did I know it was there? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but it never occurred to me. And if he hadn't said this, I wouldn't have thought to tell you all. True discipline begins in the mind. right? We mages, our mind is our most powerful ally here. We know this. So the fact that discipline begins in the mind, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better representation of a mage than that concept of discipline. If you cannot control your mind, you must learn. I mean, you're screwed, right? Everything we do is about focus. That's why meditation is so important to us, right? So you need to learn to train your mind in order to get your spirit, your words, your thoughts, everything else to follow through. And that's where you're going to find that discipline. Start in the mind. Start with your meditation. Meditation practice. A lot. It can be a lot of fun. It's not as boring as everybody wants to chalk it up to be. I'd say if it is boring, you're doing it wrong, personally. And I'd encourage you to check out my meditation course at the Working Dragon Mystic community. But all of it trickles down. It all interlocks and interconnects. And when you get that discipline of mind, everything else starts to flow with it so much easier. And that doesn't mean it all instantly clicks in. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if it did. But once you learn to discipline that mind, as you begin to discipline yourself in other aspects of life, it comes easier and easier and easier to do it because you've already won the mental battle at that point. And you will always be fighting a mental battle. Okay. Just truth be told, there's always a mental battle to be fought in life. No one's ever going to be free of that. But by developing that discipline, you can win that mental battle 99% of the time easily. And the other 1%, yeah, you're going to struggle. You might need help. You might need support. You may even lose it a time or two. But overall, the bulk of life will get a lot easier with that discipline in it, if that makes sense, right? And as you continue to work and take control of your mind, the more it really snowballs into a few things that I've seen throughout my life, right? So it will snowball in. You're going to find that it will boost, highly boost your self confidence, your self respect, and your self esteem. And all of these things just continue to build and strengthen your knowledge of self, your self mastery, and your self empowerment. You actually are gaining more and more self empowerment the whole time just by cultivating the discipline. Now, if you think about this and you go back and look at the Mage Minded series, at all the things we've talked about, mastering your words and other things like that, you can start to see how if you've been listening to this series, if you've been trying to meditate on these things, you can really see how just these few simple things can really turn your life inside out and improve it on all aspects if you're just willing to take the time to meditate and apply these things. And we're not even done yet. We still got a whole bunch of these that we want to talk about in the future. Okay. So I hope you all found this interesting. Before I will go, I will say this: don't fall into the trap of thinking you have to be some monastery monk, or like I said, some strict military unblinking guard or something to have discipline. Discipline can fall into a lot of things. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. You have to examine your life. What is it you want? Like for me, going out and running 8 miles a day, that would be a lot of discipline. That would be a crap ton of discipline. And in truth, I'd probably lose some weight. However, I'll be honest, in my life, running 8 miles a day, it's absolutely useless to me, in all honesty. It absolutely is. Now, if I was someone who ran marathons constantly or something like that, I absolutely get it. That would be discipline I would want to do. For me, I like functional muscle structure. I like functional strength. I like flexibility, and I do like endurance. So I want to focus more on exercise disciplines that focus on those areas and areas of things that I do otherwise. Okay. So, hiking is a great one for me. It's not, like marathon running or anything, but I do prefer to be out in the woods hiking. I'll be honest, hiking for me is not as much of a discipline because I like doing that one. That one's easy for me to do. But the flexibility and other strength training that I want, those, yeah, I do need to, I'm working on developing better routines for those, right? Um, Showing up to work, your work life balance, those are disciplines. Your sleep schedule, that's a discipline, right? In fact, this is what a lot of people have trouble with, and I get a lot of questions about because a lot of people watching this channel know I suffered for many, many, many years from insane insomnia, right? And it was absolutely miserable. I'm not going to lie about it. I do crack a few jokes about it occasionally with friends because honestly, I'm just that person. I'll take a dark situation and make jokes about it. That's what I do. But truth be told, as many jokes as I crack about it, it was freaking miserable, absolutely miserable. And I spent years trying to do everything the experts told me to do, and nothing worked. And the irony was, if I took medicine to help me sleep, the dosage had to be so high, like I would just fall asleep and I'd miss 3, 4 days. Or if you could wake me up, like the whole day was a blur. I don't remember it. Right. It was like being pass out drunk or something. It was awful. So yeah, no, I didn't want to take the medicines. Um, and the doctors are trying to find a natural option, which I agree, that's a better idea. I had to go deep, deep, deep into understanding sleep, sleep cycles, circadian rhythm, sleep habits, and everything. And I had to build and stick to a hardcore sleep schedule. Now, looking at it today, right, my sleep schedule does not sound hardcore. It does not sound difficult. It sounds pretty freaking common sense. But that is a Drake that has developed a discipline of that sleep schedule, right? Not the Drake that just, yeah, sleep schedules, no. Like I used to be up 72 hours by choice. And I mean, I have no questions why I developed insomnia, right? I had no disciplined sleep schedule and it eventually bit me in the ass. And then suddenly I'm wanting to sleep and I can't. And now what do I do? It took a long time. I never want to go back. I never want to go back. And as far as sleep schedules and insomnia, if that's something y'all want me to talk about more in a video later, we can talk about that then. But I wanted to use that as just one of the examples of a discipline. That is something that is disciplined in my life, right? Everyone's going to have a slightly different thing. Where are the areas that you want to reach in your life, right? Some of them's very easy. You're not going to have to try for it, right? I don't have to try to be disciplined enough to make coffee in the morning. I can do it on autopilot. Um, Working out, that's going to take some discipline, but I want to get to the point where it doesn't take discipline. I want to cultivate enough discipline in my life that that becomes like breathing to me or like making coffee. But when you figure out what those things are for you, that's where you start to cultivate the discipline and you put your effort into it, right? And only you know what your goals in life are. Only you know what it means to be happy, successful, and productive in your life. I don't know what your life looks like. You could be a professional video gamer. They're out there. No one ever told me that was a career when I was in school, but they're out there. And like I've talked to some of these people. They have some crazy regiments. They have actual sleep schedules. That's actually how I met one of them, was talking about sleep schedules. They have crazy dietary regimens because they're playing video games all day. They're not out and about usually. Some of them actually do have crazy workout regimens too, to make up for the fact that they sit so much. One of them I met, like the dude actually goes out and like hardcore skateboards for 4 to 5 hours a day. Now, first off, that sounds like fun. But if you've ever skateboarded, you know that engages every muscle in your body to do all the tricks, the moves, the hold your balance and everything. That's a hell of a workout. And to know that since he's going to be doing this all day long, or like he said, sometimes it's, 12, 14 hours a day, he makes a point to get out and get on his skateboard and have a good time and everything. Awesome. Of course, he also knows if he takes a spill, busts his knee or his head or something, and he can't get on the board for however long he's off the board, he has to make the adjustments to his lifestyle, which is usually dietary, he said, or he will try to do body weight calisthenic style stuff and also, and he tries to use a standing desk if he can, as long as it's not his knee or something, obviously. So he makes those adjustments to make up for the fact that he ain't going out there. He don't just like, oh, can't skateboard. So he makes those adjustments. That again shows discipline in this individual's life. So if anyone tells you these video gamers have no discipline, that's horseshit. Like a lot of them actually do have a pretty disciplined routine. But I go through all that just so you all do know. Discipline doesn't have to be like militaristic discipline, as we see in the movies and everything. Discipline can take many, many forms, and it can actually be a lot of fun if you're willing to take a look at it. And that would be my biggest challenge to you all. Not only do I want you all to actually ask yourself, who do you really want to be? And find the things that you need to work on to get there. Absolutely should. And I absolutely think that you should find the things you need to develop discipline in to get you there. I want you to do those. But I also want you to sit down, look at it, and say, how many fun things in your life does discipline actually make possible? Consider it, meditate on it. And if you're in the community and you find something that is actually disciplined, fun, or disciplined and funny, we always love a good laugh, share it in the general chat. I'd love to hear your experiences on that one. All right. All right, everybody, if you got any questions, I'll be taking the questions from the community here in just a second. Everybody else, if you're seeing this on Rumble or YouTube, I will see you later. And if you're not in the community, check us out. Links below. Maybe become a supporter. Helps the channel out a lot. Get you access to supporter-only content, all of my courses, supporter-only live chat, and free live workshops. Okay? Until next time, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.